Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank the members of the MAVRIK Italian Army ROTC for providing the colors of tonight's game. Fans, in honor of our flag and country, and in recognition of those who serve and protected it, we ask that everyone please rise, remove all headwear, and turn your attention to the stars and stripes, and join us in the singing of our national anthem, as performed tonight by Grace Nelson.
The autofocus is not working. You just, whenever you zoom in, it gets blurry, and you can't correct that.
Alright, here we go, bud.
All right, man, let's get you started. My national team being first visiting Minnesota State University Moorhead Dragons. For the Dragons in charge, should one junior from Maple Grove, Minnesota, #1, Johnny Mankato.
And welcome back to another broadcast of Minnesota State men's basketball here on NBN Network. As usual, I'm Brian Kelly alongside my partner Jordan O'Grady. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Brian. Finally unthawed from the deep freeze we had and ready for some basketball.
Did you have class this week at all?
I had the most luckiest schedule turnout. 3 days off from work, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and all my classes were canceled.
So let me guess, all you did was watch Netflix.
No, I played a lot of NASCAR, believe it or not.
Played a lot of NASCAR.
On Xbox.
The original Xbox or the old Xbox?
Oh, no, the new one. Real deal.
What? I didn't even know they made a NASCAR video game.
I put in a lot of laps on very hard difficulty against a lot of racers.
For some reason, that doesn't cease to surprise me.
No, I love all the weird sports.
As we know. But welcome back, as this matchup is two teams atop of the NSIC standings. In Minnesota State University, Moorhead, the visiting team, comes in with a record of 15-7 and a 9-5 conference record, tied for fourth in the NSIC. Your Minnesota State University Mavericks come in with a record of 14-6 with an NSIC record of 10-4 and find themselves tied for second in the NSIC. Jordan, we have seen them struggle as of late. especially with shooting the ball, but they found themselves this weekend as they come out with a pair of wins on the road.
Yeah, winners of two-game winning streak coming in tonight's contest here at Breslin Arena. The Mavericks 5-5 at home on the season, 8-1 on the road. For some reason, the Mavericks seem to find their swing of things, if you will, on the road, and it shows with an 8-1 record. They have some very tough games and very close games here at the Taylor Center against other NSIC teams, and find themselves struggling to put games away as of late here at the Taylor Center. And let's see what they can do tonight. Like you said, a very tight contest now in the NSIC as we're in the first day of February here. So at the end of this month, we'll be having our first round game here. So we'll see how it pans out here.
As they got quite a grueling schedule to come up with, the only easy game you would think that they would for sure win is Bemidji State. And a nice way to start the night for Kevin Krieger.
Yeah, good exchange of events there. Ball able to bounce back to where it needed to be. And great defense by Nixon. He has continued, although in some tough losses here at home, he has continued to play great defensive basketball, and he shows right there perfectly timing, maybe a little misread by the Dragons offensive player, but nonetheless, great job by Nixon being in the spot.
As Sem strips that away from Krieger, who is looking for the foul. The pull-up jumper, that three is good for number 13, Gavin Baumgartner. And when we were looking and we were preparing for tonight's game, what jumped out the most is the fact how efficient Minnesota State University Moorhead shoots just from the floor. They are ranked in the top 10, and in fact, at number 10 in field goal percentage, shooting 51%, and that's quite remarkable as Cameron Kirksey gets the and one.
Yeah, and they bring that with them wherever they go. You know, some teams kind of like the Mavericks, and the Mavericks are a weird, I don't know if microcosm is the right word here, but they're a weird microcosm within themselves, if you will, because they shoot lights out twofold better on the road than they do here at home, and it shows with their 5-5 home record. And we know they've had some very tight games and some very questionable calls in said games, but they find a way to win on the road, and they need to find that magic here at Breslin Arena. They struggle to put away games here, it seems like, at times against opponents that I don't want to say inferior, but maybe a little bit less than them in terms of talent-wise, and they really struggle. So that's one thing they need to do tonight, and I've said it multiple times on the broadcast. Once you can get your your foot on the proverbial jugular, as they say in sports, that's where you really got to step through and put them out for the night, and they don't find a way to do that a lot of the times here at home.
Baumgartner's got a quick 5 of his own, and as you were saying, they struggle here at home. They had a little home run here of 2 straight weekends of 4 games, and they went 3-4, or excuse me, 1-3.
Right.
Sorry, they dropped 3-4 is what I meant to say.
And every game was within reach, too. You know, it was really, a lot of them were down to the final minute. And right now, the Dragons finding everything they want. That's a big answer there by Kirksey. And we see, other than that shot right there by Kirksey, the woes, if you will, of their percentage. You know, sometimes they make the more difficult shots than they do the easy gimmies, the little bunnies, as they say.
And one of the things, like you were saying, it was just maybe they came out on opening week of the semester, or excuse me, the weekend before, and they were just sloppy. They could not. They come out with a season low against Sioux Falls in a half, scoring only 20 points, and ended up putting up only 46. But then after that, they kind of got the wheels turning a little bit. I mean, they lost to the 18th and the 19th against Duluth in a 3-point game, and again dropping to St. Cloud to a 3-point game in overtime. Right. In both games, you could have verbally said that they should have won.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't want to say necessarily should have, but you look back to that Duluth contest, and then even the St. Cloud game. St. Cloud's a very talented team, and I expect them to go a pretty good distance into this conference tournament, if not be one of or the representative of the NSIC, along with the Mavericks, who are in great contention as well. But you look back at Duluth, you go, man, that's definitely a game we should have had. And also, it's hard or easy to forget, but hard to remember that Krieger was out for a considerable amount of time. And I know in the
hamstring injury.
And I know in the offseason, I'm sure in everything, practice, weight room, in all phases, he was leading them, and he was there at everything and running with the one, so to speak. And then you lose him for a couple months and try to work him back in. There's definitely a transition period there, both coming from the injury, then coming back from the injury. So that's finally getting, but it just seems a lot of bad luck at home with the field goal percentage in terms of shots made. Sometimes they just don't rattle home when they need them to.
Kevin Krieger coming in last game against Augustana up in Sioux Falls. Krieger had himself quite a night with 16 and 9, and that's exactly what you come to expect from a guy like Kevin Krieger.
Yeah, absolutely. A dominant low block force, just like Kirksey is, but unlike Kirksey, he is more capable of a jump shooter than Kirksey is. Kirksey can make them, don't get me wrong, but he is a more fluid, more spot-on technical shooter than Kirksey is.
As Krieger with a nice spin move, he'll go to the line for 2.
Hey, like we see out of Krieger early tonight, very active all over the floor, playing inside and out, and really stretching that Dragons defense. And you can see the Dragons sitting in a little bit of a 2-3, and they'll man up every now and then, but they're picking up right around the arc, and they know the specialty is the guard's dribble drive and the play down low by the big men.
And one of the things that they really got to look at is especially shooting from the free throw line. The free throw line shooting has been absolutely horrendous, as on the road they shot at a team high 67%.
Yeah, and I mean, team high is the correct term for there, but that's nothing you want to hang your hat on. That's very acceptable at best to not giving you a good job winning down the stretch here.
And that's already Nixon's second personal, or they're going to call it. Yeah, they will call it on Nixon. That's his second. They just still haven't put it up by his number yet. And Nixon's one to be prone to get into a little bit of foul trouble, as he did, in fact, foul out of the game on Friday night, and last Friday night against Wayne State in a 11-point victory. But still, he's one that, like you said, his defensive skills, and they need him out there because his vision in that defensive to bait people is absolutely unreal.
Yeah, and with someone like him too, it's really tough not to be performing well, and when he gets out there, it really sets things in the motion for him. And they really he's got to be a less handsy defender, if you will. And sometimes that's what you get with a really good defender, is that they're quite aggressive and they'll start getting a little bit more hands, maybe get a little bit more body contact. Sometimes you got to settle down and just know you got to play minutes, because like I said, when he's out there, it just sets things in motion. Gets a solid rebound, a great defense on a lockdown player that you need to be locked down on. So it's tough when he gets in early foul trouble like this.
Anderson with 10 to shoot, loses the dribble on the basketball. McLeod staring down the face of Code with 5 to shoot. Looks at the screen from Kirksey. Kirksey will throw one up from 3, and he gets nothing but net. Cameron Kirksey with the 3. He's got 9 early.
Yeah, clutch shooting there. That's the second 3 here in the last couple of minutes. And they're going to get the illegal screen here on the Dragons. Possession will go back to the Mavericks.
And And that goes on number 2, Bryce Erdsfeld, his first. And so far, so good shooting from the field for Minnesota State, Jordan.
Yeah, now let's see how it keeps up. It definitely much more improved than some more recent home outings here, and it's got them up by 6 early outside of the paint early on, because it's going to pull them out of that 2-3 and stretch that defense a little bit and maybe respect you more and maybe get in a more man set. And if they hop into man, that's a better time for your dribble drive with guys like Anderson and McLeod, who can really get down there quickly and score easily off the glass.
My question is, how well are we going to do in the offensive boards? Because we have struggled mightily on giving up offensive rebounds, and that is what has caused St. Cloud to that overtime win, because we gave up over 10 offensive rebounds in that outing alone.
Yeah, you know, as athletic as our bigs are, and I don't know if even calling them bigs is really necessarily right. Maybe a bit more of a forward playing a center role or a 5 role on the floor. But the Mavericks do struggle when they play a team with a true center, a 6'9", 6'10", maybe even a couple inches above there. But when they get a guy that's that tall and has some size, they really struggle down low. And I mean, I'm not saying that Kirksey or Krieger are necessarily small by any means, but when we're talking basketball size and reach and wingspan, they find difficulties getting space, or getting their space down low, getting their footing there to get those offensive rebounds.
Well, they're both 6'6", and Kirksey with the drive. He's the first Maverick in double digits, and that's a huge key there as he comes off an outing where he had 26. And that's one of the things that when the Mavericks fail to get someone in double digits, they have a tough time winning basketball games.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of a weird anomaly here at home at the Taylor Centers, because you never know what quite to expect, and the bank is still open here at 8 even this evening, as puts it home. And sometimes you kind of take what you get, for better or for worse, with the Mavericks at home. They don't have that same fluidity or consistency as they have found on the road. And that's just great effort by Kirksey. They're unable to finish, but that exactly alludes right there to what you're talking about, is they're doing a good job on the offensive boards and getting second chance as a quick basket there in transition.
And Benenga's got himself 4, and out on the floor now is manning the court for Minnesota State is Trey Baumgartner, and he comes off a weekend where he had himself quite the 2 pairing of basketball games, as he has 11 points off the bench in both games. And he's another man that we got to get going off the bench, because when he produces the way that he did, and especially early often in the season at home, we were truly one of the tougher teams to face.
Yeah, and you know, for the Mavericks, it's a little touchy there, because it was still blue. Everyone was still blue, new in the season, you know, still figuring each other out. And for better or for worse, again, the Mavericks can become one-dimensional sometimes with their dribble drive, or what they're doing right now with their spread defense and trying to let one of the guys like Anderson, or what a block there by number 3, Baumgartner. That was quite impressive. I thought that was an easy 2 for Anderson.
I think that'll be easy to remember, because both Baumgartners on each team are number 13.
This is true.
As
Good
Aaron
point.
Holtz will take it, and he throws wildly out of bounds, and you see Coach Matt Morgenthaler absolutely just befuddled.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what he saw out of whatever corner of the eye he was looking out of there, but absolutely did not find a Mavericks player in white there. A little bit of a downhill slide right here. Mavericks 1 basket over the last couple minutes here, and making a few ill-advised turnovers and having some trouble getting started in their offensive set.
Since that timeout, they're just 1 of 6. Kirksey with the contest, brought down by Anderson. Anderson looking to drive, not letting him set up in that 2-3 zone. That can't rattle home.
You know, people talk about points in the paint and doing that. That's a very well executed 3-pass up and in layup by the Moorhead Dragons. going back to what I was talking about, you think when you get more attempts in the paint, it's going to be a higher percentage, and generally that can hold true. But the way the Mavericks do this sometimes is that it's a one-on-one, and we might be a bit out of control. So it's a very contested layup is what I'm trying to say. And those, as you see, that happens a lot to the Mavericks right there as it rolls around, bounces off the glass awkwardly and doesn't go in. And you see that happen a bunch lately with the Mavericks, and it kind of adds to their low field goal percentage.
As Kriegel will have a seat, here comes in his first action, Quincy Anderson. And if you kind of looked into that huddle there from Coach Matt Morgenthaler, he was not pleased by any means, allowing them to go on a substantial run to tie this ball game up.
Yeah, I think he said in much harsher words than I'm allowed to say on here, stake your head out of a dark orifice in the body and get going, because right now, after a very fast start, they've come out very sluggish and some very ill-advised turnovers, uncharacteristic shots, and not playing well as of late. But this is kind of what happens here. They need to find some rhythm and some way to stay in it, whether it's whatever rotation out there, finding a matchup that you really excel at. And you're going to say he's on the line, say there. And that's tough. I know there's contact, and I know Coach Morgenthaler is upset about that, but he played tough defense and wasn't necessarily leaning on him the body. Maybe got him with a hand, but you got to let the defender play too. You can't go in there full head of steam and not expect some kind of contact.
Kirksey with the three. That's his third three of the game already. And Cameron Kirksey on fire to start the night.
Kind of an unlikely three-point shooter, not the guy you would necessarily expect to come out and make this many three-pointers early on here in the contest.
Benenga, free throw line jumper, no good. Here's Anderson looking to drive. Will kick it out. They're going to call a foul on the floor. And that'll be on number 15, Britton Busman. That's his first. And that's team foul number 5. And so far, so good for the Mavericks, actually. They are normally one of the teams that allows their opponent to get to the free throw line quite early and often. But they only have 3 team fouls to start this game within the first 10 minutes, almost already gone by.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing with the Mavericks too. They kind of have a multitude, if you will, of things that start incrementally adding up, like fouls, certain players getting in foul trouble, the same kind of routineness on offense, and all those things can sometimes culminate into some bad situations late in games, as we saw not too long ago, where didn't we have 3 people foul out, if I'm not mistaken? 2 weeks ago?
I believe it was 2. Yeah, but we had 2 others with 4.
But my point being is that they do get in foul trouble and they create some bad situations, along with other kind of coaching decisions and stuff. And it usually seems to happen at home. And it's I'm not trying to keep harping on it, but it really caught my eye today before the game, seeing a 5-5 record at home, 8-1 on the road. And usually that would be vice versa when you're looking at a top team in a conference right now in the Mavericks.
And the turnovers are tied at 4 apiece as Quincy Anderson threw that one away right to Code. Code looking to drive with 9, and they're going to call him with a walk in the park. And that's a TV timeout, as there's just a hair shy under the halfway mark in the first half, with the Mavericks finding themselves a 22-19 lead. And the bench points is a little bit of a story here, as it's 6-0 as the the bench players have came in for Minnesota State and have not produced.
Yeah, and that's been another problem as of late, is that they haven't found much more past their 6th and maybe, if they're lucky, their 7th man in terms of scoring. Sure, they got guys that we consider three-point shooters, but when we're not getting them open or doing things to get them open to take quality three-point shots, it just kind of irrelevant and null and void there on that front. And it's really tough because, like I said, their offense can get very one-dimensional and not a lot of ball screens or screens in general to get open and find their way to the hoop a lot easier. And a lot of their shots are very contested, as I spoke about earlier, under the rim. There's always Anderson and Krieger and Kirksey. They all can get there, but it's a little bit difficult sometimes because they go into some big bodies and a lot of traffic.
And the biggest key now with all the starters out is Carter Ash and Frankie Mack coming to the ballgame. I kind of like seeing this because we don't really see those two all often, let alone Frankie Mack, and I kind of like what I'm seeing as we find Kevin Krieger finding himself back in the ballgame along with Juwan McLeod.
Yeah, it's part statement, I think, by head coach Matt Morgenthaler to say, hey, we need to find someone to do it. And then B is finding a spark, something that may get the team going here because they've just been dull again after a very fast start.
Back to you, MAVRIK. 0, 1 McLeod, 25, Kevin Krieger. Also,
As they finally decided to draw a little something up, as we know, number 5 in white, Carter Ash, is not afraid to shoot that long ball. And as I say it, he lets one fly. Krieger with the offensive board and the putback. And that's exactly what you expect coming from number 25. Is nothing short of getting rebounds and putting it back up for that second chance points. The drive by Park, not there, well defended by Ash. Krieger, and they're going to call a foul on him as it looks like Bumgarner is going to go to the free throw line to shoot 2.
Didn't quite see it from my angle, but apparently got him, and they'll step to the line for 2.
And this is the first and second free throw attempts for Moorhead as Bumgarner goes to the line. Gets the first to rattle home. And as Krieger has a seat because he's got 2, that's the last time we're probably going to see him in this first half. Here comes in Carlos Anderson. That one won't go. Rebounded by Mack. Outlet pass to McLeod. McLeod's got 2 points for himself so far, as we've typically seen him try to get into that scoring column, and he's not afraid to pull the trigger from deep as he can't get the friendly bounce there.
You know, you got to give credit to the Dragons right now. They're doing a great job themselves of boxing out on the defensive end and only allowing one opportunity for shots there. And that's a great read there by number 5, Trayvon Code, to find the open man along the baseline.
And that's Park, his first free 3 attempted, as he's got himself 7. And Park is normally their guy. He's their leading scorer on their team with averaging 15.5 points a game. And as we see here, it's just an absolute cluster at the top of the key for Minnesota State, as you really don't have a traditional big man out there. Carter Ash is the big guy that you have on your team that spreads the floor more than just plays that under the basket type game.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head right there. A cluster cuss around the top of the key. Just no one able to really do anything. Not great ball movement, lackluster screens. And the Dragons right now taking full advantage of this lackadaisical play.
And my question is they saw when they went on that little run to tie the game up at 19 is Frankie Mack's 3 as he gets one to go of his own, and they're going to call a stoppage of play because the ball, I believe, got away, or it's a delay of game warning on Carlos Anderson, I believe is what they're going to call.
MAVRIK really need to dig in their heels right now and get a solid defensive possession. Sure, they play tough straight up, but they give up those little easy passes like that. A little, you know, you may not make a lot of it, but a nice easy entry pass like that, it really gives your offense rhythm, keeps everything flowing. You don't have to fight for that ball. You get a clean entry pass. Now you can go right to work and not worry about corralling it. As minuscule as that may sound, that does make a considerable difference.
And he gets that first one to rattle home as they're 2 for 3 from the line. And Cameron Kirksey comes in for Carter Ashe as he saw about 4 minutes of playing time, and that's typically what he's going to see per half. As Carlos Anderson and one of the referees were having a little back and forth chit chat as he was still wondering what that warning was for. Park will make both and tie up the ball game at 27. There's a timeout by Coach Walthall, and that's the first timeout for the Dragons. And as we take a look, the rebounding is tied at 11, but the story is the offensive board as MSU has done their job on the offensive side, getting 6 offensive boards to Moorhead's 3.
Yeah, that stat is a little deceiving right now, but it definitely is a good look for the Mavericks. In the last few possessions here, 3 or 4, it's been a one-shot and done deal. And we've seen them kind of run that same double screen at the top of the three-point line there, top of the key, and really get congested there, not able to move the ball freely and spread out the court well. And I think you said it, you know, kind of the lack of the true big man presence there, the Mavericks is really, I don't know if it's necessarily hurt them because it's something they just haven't had, but something that would help them out considerably. Someone that can sit down in the paint, play solid defense, and make it tough to get rebounds. Having a guy like that would go a long way for the Mavericks.
And already having in foul trouble Jamal Nixon and Kevin Krieger, we probably won't see them for the rest of this half because they have 2 apiece. As Anderson looks to drive on Sem, and that's Bumgardner's 3rd block of the game.
Yeah, he's finding himself in the right place at the right time more often than not so far.
Ersfeld looking for Park, nothing there. They kick it back out. Ersfeld looking to drive and get Sem on the baseline as he gets that layup to go.
Yeah, that's a good job by Sem there, reading the eyes of the guard and knowing when to cut towards the rim, and timed it up perfectly, and a beautiful pass to him at that.
Kirksey's 3 long, brought down by Bumgardner. Ersfeld looking to push, and he'll find nothing. Pull-up jumper from 11. No go, rebounded by Kirksey.
You know, one thing that the Dragons are doing well, and I'm sure they watch this on film, was they do a great job. As soon as they get that rebound, it's out in transition, out to their outlet, and they're gone. They don't wait around. And, of course, they slow it down here as I'm saying that. But they get it out there, and they run the floor and create those 2-on-1, 3-on-2 opportunities.
I just want to say that possession there was the first time, I think, at all tonight that we haven't seen them crash the boards on the offensive side.
Yeah.
That was the first possession I can really actually think of that they didn't do what they were supposed to do, as Bumgardner gets it to go as he's got himself 12.
Yeah, Bumgardner's doing a really good job. He's really good at getting himself into a very good shooting position and finding open spots on the floor. And they're very fluid with their ball movement. And if your feet are standing still, they'll find the open man.
Anderson's 3's long, and they're starting to go a little bit of 3-point happy here as they find themselves down 4 points, as the Dragons have clawed their way back in a sense, but they were never really down big. As Code goes for the left-handed layup, that's a no-go. Kicked out to Park with a fresh clock. He'll take up from the top of the key, brought down by Quincy Anderson.
The Mavericks need someone to find a way to back themselves down the lane, get a solid post up, don't drive down the lane, find someone that can post someone up and make a good low post move. It's a good job by Kirksey of good ball control, getting to the rim and getting fouled to shoot too. But they get a little too much of that. It's easy to box that in with a 2-3 and slide your help over. I would like to see Kirksey what you could do if you could just set down on a low block and get an entry pass and go to work.
As Kirksey's first free throw is no good, and Carson Airholtz comes back into this ballgame. And substitution now for the Dragons, number 1, Panenga, number 2, Ersfeld, number 12, Wyatt Hansen, number 13, Bumgardner, and number 35, Berg. On the floor for the Mavericks, you got Jawan McLeod, Carlos Anderson, Frankie Mack, Carson Ehrenholz, and Cameron Kirksey with 5 minutes to go here in the first half. The score is the Dragons 31, the Mavericks 28. And the drive by Bumgardner, that one will go as he kisses it off the glass.
Yeah, not much interference with him tonight. He's finding the rim at a high rate right now and doing a good job of finishing.
Kirksey looking to take the younger Berg as he takes him to school and gets that up and under.
Kirksey's able to make some shots from very odd angles, and he showed it right there. He does a great job of manipulating his body in the air and getting the ball up.
The shooter, Frankie Mack, can't get that one to go, as I saw some fans in the first row, a little eager McBeaver there trying to call it before it went in.
Reminds me of the old show on, was it Nickelodeon, Angry Beavers?
I never ever saw that.
Yeah, you were in the late 90s, baby. You miss all the good ones. Rocket Power.
I remember Rocket Power.
You do
I really
remember
do.
Rocket
I remember
Power.
Rocket Power because
Hey
that was
Arnold.
Otto.
Yeah,
Hey Arnold
Otto,
was good.
Regina, Squid.
Reggie.
Yeah.
That's the Drake and Josh. That was my time. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that was more
when
you
I think
there.
that's when you started getting out of it a little bit.
Yep, that's exactly when. That's funny. It's funny how you can piece different age groups together by cartoon shows or like shows that you watch.
It's literally just shows. And like I go over to my grandparents' house.
By Bumgardner there too. He's having a hell of a night so far.
Yeah, go back to our the cartoon thing. I go back to my grandparents and like all they watch is TV Land, and you look at those shows, the old shows. There is no cartoons whatsoever. All it was just like old westerns.
Yep. My grandfather still watches TV Land and all of those shows all day long.
As that entry pass from Bumgardner to Hansen was a textbook play, as that was just smooth from the word go.
Yeah, right now Bumgardner is absolutely the one for the Dragons, for the visitors. Bumgardner is absolutely having a field day, slicing and dicing this Maverick defense, as you see there just a moment ago, and doing a great job of dishing the ball around. He is having one heck of a night for the Dragons.
As he's got himself 16, and the Dragons find themselves up by 7. The only good thing right now coming out of the first half is Cameron Kirksey for Minnesota State. As a little bit of the story of the first half is Kevin Krieger and Jamal Nixon. Jamal Nixon only played 4 points before he's found himself on a permanent spot on the bench here in the first half. Alongside him is number 25, Kevin Krieger, but he's done a little bit more so as it took him a while to get that second foul.
Well, and this is what I was kind of talking about earlier. Not the end of the world having 2 fouls and having to sit some minutes, but this is a regular basis kind of thing. And when you get these guys sitting on the bench like this, it really does hurt. You were up 7 at one point. Now you're down 7, and these guys are on the bench. 2 starters not doing a good job keeping themselves out of the foul trouble category. And, you know, it really ties the hand of the coaching staff because it got really, you can't give you 3 because then what are you going to do to the rest of the game? And they're just struggling to play good, clean defense without getting handsy right now.
As both teams are coming out of the timeout to come back on the floor, they will take part in 3 minutes and 6 seconds left on the clock to go in this first half, and the Dragons are looking to put the exclamation point and add a little something to their 7-point lead. And it's a fresh set of legs on the floor for the Mavericks as Ash, Bumgardner, Ehrenholz, and Anderson find themselves back on the floor. Bumgardner looking to drive, will kick it back out to the 6'9" Ash. Ehrenholz with 11 to shoot. Here's Anderson, pull-up jumper from 13 is good. Quincy Anderson finally finds himself in the scoring column and puts the deficit to 5. Bumgardner, Ersfeld, Park, working on Ash, trying to back him down. The baby hook right off the glass is good.
Yeah, he kind of slow played Ash right there a little bit with the dribble. Picked it up once he got in the paint and was able to get up and over. A very tall Ash there. Tight defense, but unsuccessful at slowing that roll down.
And we've seen lately a lot more screens from Minnesota State at the top of the keys. Bumgardner's pull-up jumper is nothing but net.
Yeah, and it really helps give more separation because these Dragon defenders are doing a good job of staying on them.
And that's a nice move there by Park, but he can't get that one to go as they'll call a foul. And I believe that will go on Bumgardner. That's his second as he finds himself with 16 points, but that'll send the other Bumgardner to the free throw line.
Not to be confused.
I mean, Bumgardner. I guess it's a common last name.
Must be out here in Minnesota.
I don't know. This is the first time I've really heard it. But what do I know? I'm a man.
But I'm a man.
As they're still sorting some things out here. Bumgardner, his first free throw attempt is good as he knocks that one down. And that's a big free throw, especially if he can get this one to go because it goes down to a one-possession game.
You know, Mavericks always find a way to hang around, and sometimes it really too little too late or just not enough sometimes. And they're kind of looking at one of those situations right now as they're already deep into their bench, and you look at a guy like Ash and Mac who maybe play a couple of minutes a game at most are now well into their fourth, fifth, and even sixth minute, and another and one finish for the Dragons. Each time the Mavericks keep inching close, the Dragons now finding a way to extend it over the 5-point mark.
And I don't even think Aaron Holtz even touched him on that one. I honestly don't think Aaron Holtz touched him. I think he just backed away right away. And I think that's what maybe called a foul, as the referee was behind him on the play. And to me, I maybe think you let that one go because Park had complete and utter body control and he wasn't even affected.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Those smaller guys will kind of slide their leg and their hip under you and kind of push you out a little bit.
As that one will go, here is Benenga as he finds Hansen, and that's a nice pass by Earsfeld to Hansen for the assist.
I don't know if that was necessarily for Hansen there, but what hands by Hansen to snag that one like a wide receiver, control and put it right up and in.
As we're at 50 seconds to go, Ash will throw one up, try for the 2-for-1. Frankie Mack behind the three, corner jumper, and he gets the friendly bounce from the corner on the corner three. And that one is a present from the gods, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you'll have that. Sometimes you got to get every inch of that rim to make it go through first, and that he did.
And even off the glass, too.
And there's a good touch.
A little bit more dramatic effect, if you would say. As the shot clock and game clock is a difference of 8. Earsfeld guarded toughly by Bumgardner. Earsfeld, 3, good. 9 seconds left. Aaron Holtz looking to push, looking to defend. Bumgardner with 5, and he gets the bank. Code will throw up a 3-quarter shot. That one won't go and fall short. Mavericks find themselves down 4 by a score of 46-42 going into halftime. You are listening to another broadcast of men's basketball here on the MBN Network. We are going into halftime. We will be right back. back to the Maverick halftime show. Your Mavericks find themselves down 4 to Minnesota State University Moorhead, 46-42. Jordan, what are some takeaways from that first half?
Not being able to capitalize on the offensive end. Not very many second chance opportunities. Not particularly rebounding well or not poorly, just kind of bland in the middle. Not doing a good job of closing out defensively. They're getting beat to the point, and the Dragons are having a lot of low post success and having a lot of success running the offense through the low post. And they're doing a good job of their own dribble drive penetration. Mainly the thing that they're doing that the Mavericks need to do more so than themselves is get a good rotation, a good mixture of those things, and find ways to pull the defense in with a good dribble drive. Because right now the Dragons are saying, hey, we're going to sit in this 2-3 until you really start scaring us with your 3 ball. And until that starts happening, we're going to make you work for every shot down low, as they've done so with Krieger, Anderson, and Kirksey. And Kirksey being a good spark of life right now and making the 3-pointers that he has for the Mavericks. But right now, just not enough to really set themselves over the hump. Of course, a 4-point game here, but they got to do a little bit more, because right now the Dragons are showing a little bit more to put a team out of reach. But settle in. I know it's a real tough go at home, so it seems, for the Mavericks, and they just got to settle in and play their road style of basketball, or whatever mojo they get when they go on the road, and find it here and channel it into themselves. But they as all these other games as we've had at home, they kind of go for a good distance and then spit and sputter, keep going, get back in it, get up by 6 or 7, and then slow down again. So it's kind of finding their own consistency and getting going. And you talked about it earlier, find some help from the bench. Yeah. Right now it's desolate and barren in terms of the points coming off the bench. And if you got your 6th or 7th guy that's not able to really provide much scoring-wise, well, you're going to be in trouble in the long haul for the night. So let's see, like, the guys like Aaron Holmes, Bumgarner, and Ash can finally start doing what they had been doing earlier in the first half of this season here. But we'll find out in the next 20 minutes of what the Mavericks got going forward.
My question is how much intensity is Jamal Nixon going to come out with, and Kevin Krieger being on the bench for such a long period of time with those 2 fouls between them, with both of them having 2 fouls.
Yeah.
So that's my question. And also, how much of the game is Cameron Kirksey going to take over on the offensive side, because he's already got 16 points for the Mavericks?
Yeah, I mean, he's really keeping and holding them together right now. But, you know, it's one of those things, and not to say that he's not going to keep shooting well or keep having a good night, but how reliant or how willing are you to rely on his 3-point shooting or his 3-point acumen? And so we'll see what he does going forward here. And if he can keep scoring like he has been for the Mavericks, I mean, it gives them a puncher's chance here. But right now they need some more help, and I think they'll really benefit from, honestly, having him just play some low post offense, getting down there himself and doing it, get a good entry pass like the Dragons have done, and see what happens. But right now, very one-dimensional and making their offense easily defendable. And we'll see what changes the staff and team make here coming out here in the second half.
And there's really no pun intended here, but that 2-headed monster,
yes,
of the Dragons has been Bumgarner and Park, and we see why they are the top 2 in the with these guys. They're the top 2 scoring on their team, and they're showing us why they are a top 10 field goal percentage team, while shooting 60% from the field, and their season already they're averaging 51%. So to me, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point too. Something we didn't necessarily touch upon early on is that over these last few games we played some really quality opponents, starting back with Sioux Falls, and we've played teams with very talented guards. And that's one thing that has made it a little stressful for the Mavericks, is a guard play that they've had in other teams. As you know, they've really been able to set the offense and run it well, and the Mavericks play good defense. But it's just sometimes when you get a guard that's really clicking and dishing the ball out to where it needs to go, it's tough to defend. And, you know, they got to find a way to slow this Bumgarner down. Not their own, but or find a way to get our own going and then slow down theirs. And because he's been really the creator of their success in terms of scoring and everything and dishing the ball off. And they're doing a good job of running the offense through him. You've got to find a way to slow him down and get going here in the second half.
The Mavericks find themselves down by 4. We will have second half action coming up to you next. Welcome back as we are a minute away from second half action. Some little key points from that first half. As we mentioned in the halftime show, Minnesota State University Moorhead is shooting a whopping 61% from the field. And then we take a look at the offensive rebounding. Minnesota State has done well on the offensive glass with 7 offensive rebounds. And then we take a look at points in the paint. Minnesota State Moorhead is dominating in the paint with 24 and 10 comparison in points. And then we look at second chance points. It's because of those 7 offensive boards. The reason why they have 13 second chance points does Minnesota State over Moorhead compared to Moorhead's 2.
Yeah, they're doing a good job when they get the opportunity to, you know. A lot of that comes from how the game was being played late there. A lot of long jump shots and 3 balls created a lot of long rebounds, and they're able to chase it down and be able to get after the boards a little bit. But you can see in that difference too, it can kind of tell a different story than what it may look like at first glance.
We'll see what Coach Matt Morgenthaler had for his gentlemen in the second half in the locker room to try to see if he can spark something under their belt to get them to actually start producing on the offensive side, as they have only shot around 38%. And Code right there with the contested 3 as he gets that to go.
Yeah, clock was winding down. They had to kick it out to someone, and Code happened to be the one there. Caught the pass and made a difficult 3 ball to stretch the lead to 7.
Here's Krieger with the drive, gets that one tipped away, catches it back, and puts it back up.
Good job and good concentration to be able to finish that one.
And one of the things is, what I've seen is kind of weird, is Park has started most games for Moorhead, but tonight they decided to go with the 6'10" freshman in Berg. And Berg hasn't seen that many minutes here tonight, as he's only seen 6 in that first half, and then it was Park coming off the bench. As that's a nice baseline drive there by Kirksey, and takes it to the 6'10" big fella Berg.
Well, it plays into their hand and what they're doing defensively. They're playing a 2-3 zone, and goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where they were watching the film and they saw when there was a taller guy clogging up the middle, the Mavericks struggled a little bit to get as consistent scoring down there as they have against other squads that don't have a true big man like that.
And it always seems that when it goes into that 2-3 zone, maybe not even necessarily with a big guy, they just do go to a 2-3 zone because they know they struggle, and they will just pull up and settle for that 3.
Yeah, and they see that trait in the Mavericks, but also it doesn't allow them the one-on-one get beaten by a dribble drive. There's always going to be help there to come over and contest under the basket, and that's why almost every layup by the Mavericks, it's been a contested layup and some contact.
And who else but Bumgardner there for the 15-foot jumper. Kirksey battling, and that's Sem's 3rd, as he's finding himself in a little bit of foul trouble as well.
Mavericks doing just enough to keep the game within striking distance at any point, but you got to find a little bit more consistency on the offensive end than you have.
As Kirksey will take himself into his own hands and gets that little 4-foot jump hook to go. And And one of the things I would want to see is the defense from Juwan McLeod. When he picks up his defense, it kind of is a little bit of a game changer for the Mavericks on the defensive side, and they create just like that the little bit of pressure that they go to, and using those active hands like we know them very often to do.
Well, they're a very athletic team, as we all know, and that's what they do their best, is playing hardcore, aggressive man-to-man. For sometimes the worst with the amount of fouls they can accumulate, but when they're playing like tonight and not getting many fouls, it's really good, and it's a tough defense to beat.
As that's a nice little defense on the pick and roll. That's nice communication. As a little bit of a rocket pass by Jamal Nixon to Anderson in the corner. He drives and gets himself and one as he's going to the line for an extra.
A great job there by Anderson to put that one down and away to get the and one opportunity. But as you can see right there, the past 2 times, you can see the amount of contact and contestedness, even if that's a word, that they have going down low. And Anderson there able to finish and hopefully follow through off the front rim. No good.
And Minnesota State in this half has gone 1 of 3 from the free throw line and has dropped it immensely. And that's a nice bounce pass there from Code DePark.
Yeah, very smooth execution there by the Dragons.
And the big fella finds himself with 15 with 17 minutes to go. Nixon backing down his partner in crime. Baumgartner finds Krieger for an easy lay-in.
Yeah, that's good patience there by Nixon, allowing that double team to come over and set up, and then having the wherewithal to dump the pass across the lane to Krieger for the easy 2. And they got a jump ball. Arrow will go to the Maverick.
As Benenga threw that right into McLeod's hands, causing that jump ball and giving the ball back to the Mavericks. Here's McLeod, and we will try to get him going on the offensive side as him, Anderson, and Nixon all have 2 points. And here's, Kirksey battling down there with Sem and wins that battle as he finally finds himself in the 20s with 21.
Well, that's just exactly what I've been talking about them having to do. It's as simple as that. Good entry pass down low to Kirksey. Allow him to set up shop. Don't get him the ball too early. Allow him to be ready to go when he receives that pass. And that was a prime example of it right there.
Here's Kirksey with a little hesitation. And he flashes his number in front of his defender as he lets him know, as he gives the Mavericks back the lead for the first time in quite some time. And that's a timeout by Coach Walt Hall. And that's the second time I've done that, as I keep wanting to say Whitehall, but it's Walt Hall. And that's his team's second, as they have got 2, and it's a full timeout with 15:51 here to go.
Thinking
and this
about
is a little
Whitehall,
bit of
New
intensity.
York?
Maybe. Actually, I've never even heard of that. I take that back. I've never even heard of that. But anyway, I just find it quite amazing when they start to get their hands involved in the defensive play, how much that changes their game on the offensive side. It puts so much emphasis, and now the Dragons were kind of shooting themselves in the foot as they did at the beginning of the game.
Well, when you play good defense and make good plays, it gives you a little bit more motivation to go finish off on the other end. And once you get guys that we have like Kirksey, Krieger, and Anderson and others on a roll, they can be really tough to stop. And now let's see what they can do. This is where you got to find some consistency and make some headway and maybe spread this lead out a bit more and find out what you can really do here. As you're playing another talented team at home, but you would think this is where you got to really step it up to the next level and be able to put a good team down at home and get out of here with a victory.
As McLeod will have a seat, here comes the other Baumgartner in, but this time it's MSU's Baumgartner. And I really like to see the fact that Nixon and Krieger are still out there, as I think Coach Matt Mankato is going to try to get as many minutes out of them as he can in the second half.
Yeah, they have to. They already wasted enough on the bench, and you need productivity out of them for sure.
And it was that second group that wasn't providing much, but they did find a way as the bench points did decide to pile up, as it was 11-0 in the bench points category in favor of Moorhead, and then now the bench point total is 22-15, which is actually quite amazing considering where it was. Nixon looking for Kirksey, the battle against Park, and Kirksey will win that battle 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, good job tacking the ball at its highest point to be the only one to get it, and good job finishing in deep in traffic.
As the entry pass, as Bumgarner tried to do his best, as the crowd didn't really like that one, as they thought it was a clean strip by Bumgarner, but that'll go on him, his first. And they're saying it was a shooting foul as he was in the process. And here's Park at the line for 2. As he gets the first. And the largest lead by both teams so far was 8 by MSU early in the ball game. And Park makes both to cut it to 2. Krieger to Bumgarner, pulls up, deep 3. That's a no-go. That'll be tipped out by Kirksey over code, and that's immediate timeout at 14:55. Jordan, looking at this right now, it's predominantly the play of Cameron Kirksey that's keeping the Mavericks in this ball game as he finds himself with 25.
Yeah, it's been that way from the very get-go with the 3-pointers he made early on. Someone else needs to step up, quite frankly. Too much of one person carrying the team on his shoulders right now in terms of the scoring load, and no one else really contributing. Sure, there's some good finds in getting the ball into these guys, but we need an outside presence as they're just going to keep sitting down in this zone here and really make them work for everything they got. Not that there's anything wrong with that per se, but sometimes it grows weary, grows old, and doesn't quite get to where it needs to be.
And then the impact from the bench, I gotta say, I think having Park come off the bench is kind of a great strategy for the Dragons, because even though he's your leading scorer, it provides something for that second group and that mentality that you like to have, as Park is in fact a senior, and it's that leadership that he brings to allow them to stay in this ball game.
Yeah, and they have a good rotation, and they got guys playing when they need them to be playing. In terms of when Park comes out, when the Mavericks go with more of an athletic lineup, as you see out on the floor now with Krieger and Anderson. And I mean, not saying that Kirksey's not athletic at all by any means, but he's a better matchup, Park is, with Krieger. So they have him out here because he can play defense along the perimeter, because we know Krieger can shoot that 3-ball. And you know Kirksey's made some tonight, but if you're looking at a body of work, it would make sense to have a guy like Park go to town, or go to work rather, on a guy like Krieger.
As Bumgarner hesitated on the pass to Anderson, but he's going to call a jump ball here, and it's possession arrow back to Moorhead.
Yeah, some boos about that, some humming and ahs about that, but that was a good call there by the official.
As Bumgarner was looking to go up, but he had the ball sitting right at his belt line, and that's what caused Earsfeld to tie him up, as there was a little bit of hand checking as Park goes down the lane, and it was blocked, at least I thought, by Nixon, but they're going to call him for the foul.
Yeah, Yeah, it looked a little bit like he got him below the wrist on his way through. May have looked to him more of a ball, but I think there may have been a little contact there on the right wrist.
I think it was maybe the swatting motion that had a lot to do with that. Comes Aaron Holtz as Nixon goes to the bench with 3.
And here's a guy that needs to really get going here. It's Aaron Holtz, as he's been very quiet and mundane when he's checked into this game tonight. And that's a guy that early on in the season was shooting pretty well, considerably well from beyond the arc. And right now he has no points in 11 minutes played tonight, 1 rebound and 1 assist. And just not gonna get it done. But Kirksey, I don't know if he can will this team to victory, but he's sure trying his dang hardest right now to do just that.
As he's coming off a big outing, and there's Ersfeld with a 3 to put the Dragons back up by 1.
Each time the Mavericks close it down just a little bit, the Dragons find a way to get back on top, and that was an ill-advised pass as he didn't see Park lurking below.
As they decided to go with the Jordan defense there to double-team Kirksey, and nobody was really ready for that, as that caused Kirksey to turn it over. Baumgartner, pull-up 3. No good. Brought down by Code. Code receives a screen from Park. Doing his best on the drive. Floater, no good. Rebounded by Cameron Kirksey. And that's Kirksey's 6th board of the game to go along with 27 points. Kirksey face-up jumper. That one goes.
You want to take a guess who my player of the game's going to be?
I would take a shot at it, but I don't think I'd be right.
Really? I think it's the man who just scored. He's playing absolutely out of his mind offensively and doing everything he can to keep this Mavericks team in it and playing hard-nosed defense, too.
So my guess would have been right.
Yeah. I'm not a very complicated man, Brian. Cheap date. That's me, man.
As much as I'd love to, I'm good. I'm good.
Don't let me wine and dine you like that.
No, I bet you're kind of a sweet talker there, Jordan.
I'm pretty good with words. I got a way.
No, you don't say.
No. I'll play humble right now, but come find me downtown later. I'll show you. I get put on spot by all of my friends after our games, Brian. They're watching us on TV right now. And I did not know this last week until I received a picture during one of our broadcasts of me and you at the halftime show. And it's on at all the bars right now on the local MSU television TV station.
Is it actually?
It is. Same reaction I had. I did not know that.
Well, that's news to me.
It was kind of cool. It's kind of fun.
And one of the things is like, when people say this, is it like super hard to do it? Do you get nervous from all the people listening? I mean,
we don't know.
We don't. That's the best way to put it. Yeah. Is we really don't know how many people are listening, and that was in fact of the football broadcast.
Yes.
The one where it was this absolute snowstorm, the blizzard.
Yes, Tarleton State there from Texas.
And we had 14,000 people stream that broadcast.
Yeah, incredible. And and that
was just the video. It wasn't the radio either.
Right. Well, and then too, you got to think about the set of eyes that were on it for just one stream was the next thing I thought. I'm glad I didn't know this stuff early on when we started, because now if someone tells me, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. It doesn't affect me anymore like it would have back then, So
I mean, when they originally told us that, I was a little shell shocked, because I'm like, oh, people actually watch us. I didn't really actually realize. And then I actually went to class when they finally put it in the shack. They put a camera in there, and I was actually stunned, as that's a nice block there by Krieger, but the recognition, people are like, oh, I didn't know it was you doing the broadcast for the football game. I go, yeah, I didn't know like a lot of people watched. As there's Baumgartner with the 3 as he stares down his opponent. And my goodness, Trey Baumgartner with a big-time three-pointer to put himself in double digits.
I'm going to go old school with you right now about, do you remember the And One tour, mixtape tour, the street ball?
Yes, I do.
That was a classic move. Remember the professor?
Oh,
that was that.
The Bone Collector?
Yes.
Bone Collector was always one of my favorites. As you always see him on the streets of Harlem.
Yes.
Oh, that was one of the best. But one thing I actually do really want to see is the Harlem Globetrotters. I've never seen them in person yet.
I've seen them a bunch. They come to Patrick Gymnasium back home in Vermont all the time. I had a buddy back home who was a breakdancer for the Globetrotters back in his day. Oh, yeah, still great friends with him. Steve Wish Shannon, man. Unbelievable breakdancer. Did stuff down in Orlando at the big Universal. Cool dude. Did with Orlando Magic, man. Did some big stuff with basketball. Kind of a fun story he has to tell about how he got to it from small little Lindenville, Vermont.
I actually have a question for you.
Yeah, shoot.
So, not many of our audience knows exactly who we are and how we got the way we are, why our passion is this, and how we came to get this job, so to speak. But we volunteer our time, and I can't tell you how much I absolutely love doing this with you.
Oh, it's a blast, you know. And I'm going to talk a tad bit about myself real quick. Just I brought it up, but it's just funny when I look back at this, and I know me and you both came from a different path of how we finally ended up here. Like, my first college basketball game I'm calling is at Johnson State College Division III back home in Vermont. And I'm doing it with a broadcast headset running through my phone. That's how I did my first.
Through a phone?
Through my phone to the telephone at the station, and we turned the channel up of the telephone, and that's how I broadcasted my first basketball game. It took a great deal of effort, but it's kind of crazy, and we got to travel there. Good defense by the Mavericks coming across, and timeout here on the floor. But yeah, I got into it doing that, doing little radio shows back home in Vermont, and you know, people like don't understand, and not in my wildest dreams.
For someone, and my immediate reaction goes, this guy ain't taking my spot.
Yeah, no.
This guy ain't taking my spot. But then when I asked and I got to know it a little bit more, I'm like, yeah, go to, Paul Allen. And Paul Allen has been just tremendous throughout this whole process with us. And it's just nice to, have an AD that's at your back and is willing to allow students to, be that open-minded individual that they want to be. And he's allowing us to chase our dreams. And that to us just means a whole lot, especially.
Absolutely.
A lot of these guys get started, with high school basketball or calling, town ball games. And the way I got started with it. And there's Cameron Kirksey on point with 31 with that emphatic dunk.
Well, and I think, our stars aligned for me and you both too, just where we were at with this process and this great group of people here on crew, us in the athletic department. We were, I don't want to necessarily say this in a derogatory way, good finish by Park down low, is that Minnesota State was kind of slacking in terms of their broadcasting and getting their multimedia and these live events out there and having the full package, kind of like we're still developing now. Having a crew with great graphics, having me and you be at every game consistently, and just everything finally being in full circle and getting better and better still each week. And it's really going to open up, and I don't want to start sounding old right now, or what we're doing is going to end anytime soon, but this only ultimately opens up more doors for people that enjoy doing this or want to get into this like we do. And it's a good thing, and it feels good to be breaking that proverbial ground with great people to be able to share this experience with.
And especially with when you say break the proverbial ground, actually my first broadcast was here. My very first one was In fact, it was football game. It was the second home game of the year, so the third one on the season. And I did it with PA, and he was going to have me do it on my own, and I'm just like, man, this is going to be, whatever. And I think, and this is why I like so much about PA, is the fact that he will help you along the way and guide you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you like. And he's been a great mentor to the both of us throughout this whole entire process. And our hat goes out to both of them, as we can't even ask for a better mentor in PA.
Oh, he's cool as a cucumber, He's been there, done it, so he knows. And, and I don't know, I'm sure you've had some mentors outside of here at Minnesota State, but I've been very lucky in some of the connections I've gained over radio personalities through family, friends back home. A good finish there by Sim. And, my brother being a graduate assistant coach at Division I UVM men's basketball back home, and having connections with ESPN, putting me in touch with guys like that for nothing more other than to talk about the industry and maybe things to do to prepare better or whatever it may be. And those are the little things along the way that you look for. Quite a fight down low by Krieger. And you speak about it too, and how we met, and bad turnover there by Baumgartner. You speak about how you got that text message. And I'm going to tell you exactly how and why you got it that day, and I'll never forget the moment. And that looked like it could have been an offensive foul on Baumgartner as he threw the forearm into Quincy, but nonetheless, they're going to get it there. So we're sitting up on the top of the bleachers there at practice for the football team here at MSU, and it's me and Ryan doing that field. And he's talking, and we're talking about life, what we've done. We just met. This is like the second week into preseason or whatever. And he brings it up. He's like, I talked about my radio history and everything, and he brings it up to me like, I think they're like looking for another one. My buddy Brian. And it's funny how you talked about, we met at a gathering of sorts downtown early in the summer, and we hit it off. We had a good little time, and then come to find out that you were that guy, and it was kind of fun how that came full circle. But anyways, quite random. And I'm like, dude, I was literally bugging the heck out of Ryan. I'm like, dude, you need to text him right now. Text him right now.
See, the thing is, though, and we didn't even see each other till that Saturday.
Right?
And you sent that text after after the first home game on a Tuesday. I got that Tuesday or Wednesday. I got that text, and then I couldn't even fathom to see you of all people. I'm coming up into the booth, and I see this 6'1" kid standing in there. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I've seen this kid before. Like, this is making more and more sense, and it's just amazing how, and it just shows how much this world is a small place.
Oh, it really does.
I don't think I would have been here with not of three things. And one of it is my genetic heart condition, me not allowing to play any collegiate sports because of weightlifting and pressure on the heart, me throwing out my shoulder. And then three would be my grandfather paving the way in Minnesota sports, as he was actually in the minors. He got drafted by the Brooklyn Dodgers.
No doubt. That's very cool.
And he was in AA for a little bit, and also for Boston. And then he traveled around and became an umpire, and he umpired for baseball, ref football, basketball, and baseball. Those were the only three sports he did. And he had to do it for 7 boys and then a wife back at home. And his love for sports drove it into my uncle, and then now I got connections from my uncle being such a good player, as he was up in St. Cloud and still holds a bunch of records for actually St. Cloud basketball in general. Cool. And he still holds the single career mark for stolen bases in baseball. And him being such a good athlete, and he could actually went D1, but he wanted to play both sports, so he decided to go D3 and start at both.
Yeah, and you'll see that path sometimes taken, but that's pretty cool. That's a cool backstory and how sports became a part of your life. And for a lot of people in America and throughout the world, sports can really shape and define obviously who you are as a person and all, and how you react to certain things in life. As Mavericks heating back up here. Back-to-back possessions with big buckets there. That one by number 1, Jamal Mixon. And it's really cool to see what kind of depth and what kind of integrity they can add to one's life and what they make. And, a lot of things you can see. What a hard take there by number 5.
That's Code.
Code there. Nice take and good finish there by the Dragons Code.
And I have a question for you.
Yeah, shoot.
So, how did you actually get your radio show? Is it back home or is it here?
It was back home. And so it's kind of long story short, I got an associate's degree in audio production.
Yep, I remember that.
And
I
so
remember that.
not people think maybe like DJing and that stuff. I'm like, no, I'm talking about a full live room, a soundboard bigger than this fold-out Lifetime table, 72 channels, 12 microphones recording a drum set at once kind of recording. So I had a background and, was somewhat comfortable in front of a microphone. Fast forward years, I'm at Johnson State College in a sport marketing promotion class. And one of the things was like the professor, small class, 5 of us was go, hey, we're going to do a radio show. And I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm shitting on the proverbial bricks, if you will, not feeling good about going on air in front of people. And, I got on and I'll never forget, I'm sweating bullets in front of the microphone first. So I'm like, I've never done this. I'm like, and now look at me.
You're natural.
Natural. It was always in me, but I had to get it out, and here I am now. You can't get me to shut up. It got me at a point now when I go out, and this is my reoccurring joke that I love dropping on everyone here in Mankato, is that I don't know how you consider yourself, but I'm pretty much a local C-lister celebrity. The bottom of celebrities you could possibly be, a local C-lister.
Back home?
No, here. Local.
Since when? Where did you pull that one from?
You gotta listen
Where
to
did you
the
pull
joke.
that one
Listen
from?
to the whole joke. The local C-lister. Now, if I was saying I was just a C-lister,
okay,
then
that's not
you
much.
know what exactly.
Okay, that's not
now
much.
It's a funny joke once it sets in. The local C-lister.
I can't believe I didn't get that right. I mean,
it's a mouthful. A lot of the things I say is a mouthful. A lot to digest at once. You should see how my relationships go. 3 days after they leave me, they go, wow, now I get what he was saying.
Yeah, because they have time to process all the stuff that you say.
Exactly. That's a good job by Krieger down there fighting through the contact to draw the foul.
And now we'll get back to actually talking about basketball, as we took several minutes there, about 10 of it, just to talk about, just give you a little bit personally about us, as you guys don't really know a whole lot about us.
That's all right. They can still see the game.
Yeah. Maybe we'll be in the guide next year.
Oh, get our little mug shot going.
Because I know I'm being back next year. That's the only question, is if it's going to be you, because I might have to find someone else.
Oh, man. It's all got to see what happens here, how it pans out, Not that I don't love what I do here, but I'm definitely going to go explore the options of course professionally here.
I mean, you're 27.
Yeah, well, not just that, who knows? Maybe somewhere down the road this could become a full-time gig and we can be more embedded into it. But right now, definitely got to look at my options and see what's out there, because I think I can definitely, as humble as I could possibly sound, I think I could pull a pretty decent job at a university to be their broadcast guy. I think
you could do a pretty good job doing play-by-play for ESPN on the road. And I'm not saying that just to, say that. You do a very good job, especially when it comes to calling football.
Yeah.
You're very knowledgeable about the game, and in a sense, you're about 2 degrees below Tony Romo.
And it's funny how you say that. I love Tony Romo.
I love him.
That's how I feel I am too. Is like I can see things happen that the average Joe or just the normal football fan won't see. And that's a good job there by Nixon coming up and contesting that pass and making a very, very difficult shot. Good defense there by the Mavericks. All around good rotation. And I like what he does, and it's fun. Basketball, it's kind of fun to do basketball for me now, too, because it's outside of my comfort zone, as strange as that may sound. But it's nice to learn. I'm still learning. Kirksey continues his hot night.
And one of the things is, so for basketball, I actually am family friends with a guy that Minnesota sports fans may know, as he played for the University of Minnesota and is a current play-by-play caller for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's Jim Peterson.
Yes.
And actually, I was lucky my freshman year. I wanted to do this, but I didn't take full advantage of the opportunity. It was nice to go behind the scenes and show how everything was done. And what a lot of people don't give these guys credit for is during the game, the reason why they wear that headset is it not only to cancel out themselves, it's from people in the truck. They tell them that this next commercial is coming up, and not many people realize that they're just looking at a monitor constantly and just kind of like anticipating it. They're told well in advance, and while they're speaking, they're being told this. So one of the best tricks that like I've known, if there's anybody out there that like wants to do this, is actually throw some earbuds in and record yourself saying something, and then have it retract so then you can go back and try to multitask that and see if you can do their job just as well. Because I'll tell you right now, it is very hard to get that down.
Well, if we're talking about multitasking practice over a microphone, and you're gonna laugh pretty hard right now, but go work at first window at a McDonald's during a lunch rush where you're just running the register and taking that order and exchanging someone's money while doing that with a pleasant face. And what a monstrous rebound as Krieger rips that down and sends the Mavericks back the other way. But yeah, it definitely takes some coordination and patience and being able to listen and speak at the same time and not sound like a dummy. To put it quite plain, that's kind of what it takes sometimes.
And that's a foul there, and that's going on Carlos Anderson, his second. But then let me get back to this story real quick. And when I said I didn't take full advantage of the opportunities, because I've never done it before. And it's something that I really wanted to do. So having that opportunity was something of like spectacular. Like, it was very, very nice to have, but it's like I couldn't ask the simple questions that, you know, should be asked and all this sorts of stuff. But now I really look back and look at it, there's a lot of stuff you can ask that you are really not aware of until you call a game.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, you'll never know if you don't ask, kind of deal there, you know. And I never really thought about it in a serious manner until it all started folding out. And, you know, I just getting positive feedback from people was enough to go, hey, maybe I'm good. Kid's unbelievable tonight. Kirksey now, that is his 37th point, or excuse me, 39th point of the night. Unbelievable effort. And quite honestly, if it wasn't for Kirksey, this wouldn't even be a contest. And he is absolutely picking apart the MSU Moorhead defense here, and he's having a career night. You got to be happy right now with his effort, but it's a good team effort so far, up to able to withstand some of these runs by the Dragons here. And we're in another tight one at home. They always find a way to make it interesting for the home crowd and keep them entertained to the very last second here. Both teams in the bonus. Mavericks have 8 fouls and 7 fouls respectively for the Dragons here. So it's going to come down to the same old story, it seems like, here at the Taylor Center, is foul trouble and free throw shooting, and what team is going to be able to capitalize the most here in the final push here with 2:22 left in the second half. Anybody's game, and many things can happen here. But right now, Kirksey, clear player of the game favorite in my humble opinion, is really doing everything he can to will this team to victory. Now let's see if the Mavericks defense can step up just a hair and give a little bit support to this offensive output by their teammate Cameron Kirksey, number 21.
And as you were saying that, I was trying to find a career high in points for Cameron Kirksey, because right now he's at 38. He's pushing the border of 40. And I'm just trying to figure out what that would be, because I'm kind of curious. And I think he might have just surpassed that, if I'm not mistaken, because even though he did play in 31 games his freshman year and then 30 his sophomore year, He only averaged 6 points a game in his first season and only 11 last year, as he's averaging 17 points this year, and it's quite a substantial climb in his career here at MSU.
Yes, this is one of the outliers that you're happy to have and hopefully maybe become more of a consistent thing, as he's going to work on 41 right now, a hard drive down the lane.
As he's already surpassed his season high by 11. It was 27 back on the 19th against St. Cloud, as that was his season high, and I'm pretty sure that could have been his career high if I'm not mistaken.
Well, one thing they're doing with Kirksey tonight, let me rephrase that, so far tonight, is they're doing a good job of letting him finally set up down in the post without having to get there himself. And he's getting set up well, and he's getting really good entry passes down in there, and they're allowing him to go to work and do his thing, and he's a great finisher once he's down near the rim, and he's shown that tonight, as he has a team high and game high 39 points.
As Kirksey again with the baseline, the power dribble, and the finish by number 21, as that puts him at 40 points even.
Yeah, sometimes I know what I'm talking about, and it's definitely come to fruition here. Again, it just that's all they need to do sometimes. Sometimes I feel like the Mavericks overcomplicated just a little bit. He got good position by Kirksey there, getting behind the defender, giving himself enough room between him and the defender under the basket to get a good entry pass, and very good patience in reading it and slipping up and over the defender to get an easy two.
And I believe this is Cameron Kirksey's career high, because I still can't find it. But he is single-handedly the purpose, as he's almost got half the points here for the Mavericks. And that's quite outstanding, coming back from a down of deficit of 7 to be going at tooth and nail to get back in this thing. And Cameron Kirksey, field goal percentage is at 72%. He is 16 of 22 and 4 of 6 from three-point land.
Yeah, he's doing a great job right now, and he's a tough guy to stop.
As this is an 84-80 lead for Minnesota State, and that's cut in half by Park as he puts himself with a team high of 25.
Yeah, good job using his size down there and finding the mismatch. And here we go, under a minute. Let's see what they can do here.
As they are going to call a foul on Ersfeld, and that's going to send Kirksey to the line to shoot a 1-and-1.
Just a hair late there was Ersfeld, and he definitely got the contact on the hand. And they were prepared for that exact play there, but unable to get there in time. And good job by Kirksey of getting the ball and taking the foul.
As Kirksey with that make is 6 of 8 from the line, 75% tonight. And as a team, they are shooting 82%, well above their game high average, as Kirksey gets the bounce. And then take a look at the rebound categories here. 35-26, as the Mavericks are winning that board category quite substantially. And Jamal Nixon picks up his 4th personal, and that'll send Benenga here to the line to shoot an and one and to cut it within 1.
Yeah, and that's a big one there, especially if he makes this, because now no matter what, it'll be a one-possession game here.
Kirksey alongside 42 points. He's got himself 8 boards. But Kevin Krieger has got himself 10-10 game here. And that make there by Benenga cuts it to 1, 86-85 lead as the clock winds down to 35 seconds. 1 point lead, shot clock at 15. McLeod staring up at it. Moving to his right. Looking to get it to Krieger, and he finds Nixon with the back door there. Game's to within 3. Here comes Code and company with 15 to shoot. And left on the game clock, he's looking to drive as he kicks it out to Sem. Corner 3, no good, rebounded by Carlos Anderson. Anderson, and they're calling a foul on Benenga as he's trying to plead his case of getting hit in the face.
Yeah, I think he may have got hit in the face, but he was corralling the ball and kind of ran into the back of the hand there. No joke intended there. And right now, this is a chance. He needs to make this first one here, make one a 4-point game, and that will pretty much put it out of reach here, barring a small miracle for the Dragons here. This is crucial as they have struggled tonight from the free throw line.
And he can't get that one to go as it's still a 3-point game. And Krieger did the smart thing, I think, in following Bumgardner, but this man has been shut down in the second half. He's only had 5 points here in this second half.
Yeah, and that was something they needed to do because he was really picking them apart here. And you can see the offensive production for the Dragons has slowed a little bit with the good defense on Baumgartner here. And that was a smart job of fouling right after the missed shot. Don't allow them a chance at the 3-point play, but right here you got to make sure you get a rebound if it is missed.
As Jamal Nix is going to come out, as they don't really want to risk it just in case if this game does indeed go into overtime, as you do have Jamal for overtime. Here comes Quincy Anderson, but this will be 2 shots here from Baumgartner as he has a chance to put it within a 1-point game. And this, in fact, will be shooting 2, not a 1-and-1. As you see on the bottom of your screen, Mavericks have a total of 10 team fouls as Baumgartner is good on the first. As a team from the free throw line, they are shooting 11 of 14, and that's a mark of 78%. As an individual, this is his 3rd and 4th free throw attempts here tonight, as he makes both, and that's a timeout by Coach Chad Walthall. There we go. Finally got it. 3rd time's the charm, as they always say.
And here we go. 5.5 seconds left. You're up.
This is what you live for.
You're up 1, you know. You got to make a quick play. You got to imagine there's going to be a quick foul here on the inbounds. You'll probably see pressure, full court pressure right away.
I got to see on this inbounds play, you got to think that this is going to come up. Coach Matt Markenthaler with some sort of screen to waste at least a little bit of time, but they're probably going to send 2 men there and 2 men at half court.
Yeah, they're gonna want to find, if they can, an open guy streaking or getting open to kill that clock. But you got to imagine here, like I said, that they'll be full court man all over the place here.
Gavin Baumgartner, the freshman out of Plymouth, Minnesota for Moorhead, has proven himself quite a handful and something that the Mavericks are going to have to fear for years to come, as I see him potentially being, and even averaging as a freshman, over 14 points a game. He's going to be one of the top scorers in Division II.
Yeah, he's making a good case for himself that he can do just that.
As that's a smart move by Coach Walthall to throw 2 men at the ball, forcing them not to be able to throw it long. And here is Carson Ehrenholtz as we take a look at his season statistics from the free throw line, as he shoots 80%, but he's only had 20 attempts. As he misses the first, and that could be pretty crucial here. But Moorhead is, in fact, out of timeout, so they will have to inbound it unless Coach Matt Markenthaler, in fact, decides to, I don't know, maybe do a little...
See, I think here in this situation, you kind of play it as it goes. They got 5 seconds. You don't want to give them a chance to have anything drawn up.
As he misses both, and they're going to have to play some tight defense with 0 left. And I don't think he got that to go off anyway, as that one falls just short for Benenga to try to win it for the Dragons, as they fall short. As Minnesota State squeaks one out, 88-87. We will be right back with the post-game show here on the NBN Network.
seem to make it like that every home game as of late here. Did enough to overcome it, mostly from the effort of Minnesota State's very own Cameron Kirksey here, with a game high, personal high, team high scoring output, 43 points tonight. Absolutely unstoppable. Started off going 3 for 3 from beyond the arc early in the game, and the points continue to pour in from there on out. Unbelievable job defensively too by Kirksey. I mean, really willed this team to victory tonight in his effort, and it was a big one against a very formidable opponent in the MSU Moorhead Dragons here, who came out and had a really good game plan and really stymied the Maverick attack throughout most of the first half and really kept it close and did everything they could. But eventually the Mavericks, and with much help from Kirksey obviously, able to overcome some small deficits early on and throughout the game and overcome that adversity to come out on top here. A lot of things that they can work and set up on to better run in the future, but defense struggled early on and had some lapses against Baumgartner, and he really picked them apart, as we've seen over the past month and a half, that teams with a really good guard come in here and have really good success because they can get this athletic defense of the Mavericks to move inside the side and create lanes. So that's something they got to work on, and they got to find something, the Mavericks that is, got to find something more from their bench. You know, they're very hit and miss. They had a couple guys step up and make a few important baskets here tonight, but overall just not quite enough. That something that could really set them over the hump and put them in the next level or next sphere, if you will. And it only gets tougher, and going here in the conference play or conference tournament play, and we're not that far, and they got to really tighten up some of these nuts and bolts and get going in the right direction, and this was a big win to help them do so tonight.
As it was a clean sweep for the basketball program, as the women won the 5:30 game by a score of 76-70 over Moorhead, and they win. The men do a nail-biter, 88-87. Tomorrow afternoon, we got Northern State, the #1 team in the conference. They have a record of 11-3. They are playing right now. I don't think they have finished up their game yet, but I assume, as of all, they probably won. And they got this team here showed why they showed tied for fourth. But now we got a very tough test tomorrow. Come out and show your support. Women tip off at 3:30. Men tip off at 5:30. So if you don't have any afternoon plans, please come out, show your support, and by all means, let's have a good one. On behalf of our crew and ourselves, I'm Brian Kelly, alongside my partner Jordan O'Grady. Have a wonderful night.
Go Mavericks.